Episode 6. Uncle Ron. Last time I did Ron. Uncle Ron and stuff. And today I already did one today, but it was on stuff. And today it's going to stuff too, but different kind of stuff. Confession. The worst thing you can do to me is accuse me of something I didn't do. It probably stems way back to when I was a child, and yeah, when I was a child, I used to lie. I think I had low self-esteem. That's my excuse, and so, your father is smarter than mine or whatever, and I had to exaggerate. There's always an element of truth in lies, but nonetheless, if you accuse me of something I didn't do, it really upsets me, and I get angry and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, that leads me to Jesus. I go, well, that's a pretty big leap. Okay. I grew up and I had myself some religion, Presbyterian. Parents went to church often. I did Sunday school, so I knew about Jesus. I mean, I think the Beatles said one time they were more famous or known around the world more than even Jesus, which was a controversial statement, and I doubt if it's true. I'm a ham radio operator, and one time I talked into it was some islands out in the Pacific someplace, and it was Bible translators, and these people would come into these islands, and these people that lived there, the indigenous people, they didn't even have a written language. They had language, but they never had developed written language. So the Bible translators would learn their language, create a written form of it, and then translate the Bible into the new written form language for the indigenous people, which was amazing and crazy. And can you imagine? That is some serious gospel spreading mission stuff. The guy I talked to, he flew. He had an airplane. He flew around and fixed things. They had X-ray machines. They also provided health care, but they also printed their own Bibles wherever they were. Anyway, Jesus. Who doesn't know about Jesus? Okay, accused of stuff you didn't do. Uh, got a lot of respect for Jesus. Got a lot of other things I can talk about too about Jesus. But anyway, got a lot of respect for Jesus because here he is. He he hadn't he's just out talking. He's just spreading you know good thoughts. I mean good stuff. He wasn't doing bad stuff. He hadn't killed anybody or anything. He was just doing good stuff. But it didn't fit in with the current power structures, either religious or political. I mean, here he is, he's mouthing off crap, and he's got to be a terrorist. We don't need this guy. And then the religious powers that be at the time, they didn't care for him either because he just said stuff which didn't jive with their thoughts. So he had to go. So he's accused, of whatever it was, sedition or something. Wants to overthrow the Roman government. He gets accused of this, and so he gets these, hearings in front of these people. I don't know. He went to see whoever it was. Pontius Pilate was the last one. I remember that. But anyway, here he is accused of stuff he didn't do, and he didn't make any. You could tell. I mean, what do I know? I have movies, books. He didn't get all angry and upset and defend himself and say, "Hey, look, I wasn't doing." He didn't. He sort of already knew what was going to happen. That was part of the story. I understand that, but um, that whole deal, knowing what's coming and what you got to do, and he didn't do anything. but he got nailed anyway. Uh, Sometimes dreams, I don't know, when you have really strong, vivid dreams, sometimes they get, I mean, you remember the dream, it's really strong, but then over time, I'm not sure if what I remember was real, a reality dream, or not a reality dream. Of course, it could be reality or a dream. I don't know which is which anymore. But I had a dream, and I wrote about it, that I was a Roman soldier, and no, I wasn't a Roman soldier. I was just a Israelite or whatever they called them. I was just hanging around. I was there at the time of Christ was crucified. And the Romans, we all gathered around to watch this terrible event. I don't know, I don't feel bad about it, or I don't know. Anyway, the Romans, they decided that they would have the local people do the crucifixion because, that would teach them a lesson and everything. So I get picked out to hammer the nails, you know, and so I get this nail and hammer, and I'm up there right by his head, I'm getting ready to do the hands, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I mean, I don't care who it is. I don't want to hammer some nail through somebody's hand. Anyway, I say to him, I don't really want to do this. I'm sorry, but they'll kill me if I don't. You know, I'm kind of trapped. I'm in a bad situation. So he turned to me and he said, "It's okay. You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do." And it's like, it was just instantly, I mean, guy's going to be crucified, and he wasn't forgiving me. He was, he understood. And it's like, whoa. So anyway, I smashed that nail down on the hand. I don't know. It was okay. Anyway, respect for him. Not, he could have got out of it. I mean, probably he didn't have any sin on him. You know. Anyway, it made me think about a movie I saw once called The Last Temptation of Christ. And it was a controversial movie when it came out, and it was a Martin Scorsese film, which I really like Martin. And so I found it and watched it again, and I think it brought to light again what was special about the film, and was to me was that uh, Jesus was. The film tried to say that he was a human and divine, and that the human and divine, he wasn't born immediately aware of his divinity. He was human first, and then had this divinity. It was there and overtook him, or he struggled with it, which is an interesting concept. I mean, I was sort of taught that, from the time he was born on, he knew who he was, and he took it from there. But this was implying that no, he was really human, and that's what was really special, I think, about Jesus. He was human, human. He human first. The divinity came on, Holy Spirit, whatever. But he struggled, and in the movie, you see him sort of transition from human over to the divine, and he begins to accept it, and then he swings too far over, and he sort of gets like a manacle or something. He's really into it. Then he's really into it, and it's like oscillates back and forth between human and the divine, and he starts out and he great talker, and he can. Anyway, followers, blah blah blah. the whole human divinity thing really helped. It's really, I thought it was really, really important to understand that he was in fact human, that he suffered the pangs and arrows of reality and had thoughts of all kinds, and he had relationships with his apostles, and they had arguments, and he didn't like the way the beans were served. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He made him human. Finally, Jesus. Again, was it a dream or was it reality? I don't know. I used to have to get up and get on my old BMW 2002 and drive out of Reston down Route 7 to wherever I was working. And usually I got up, took a shower, got in the car, and drove. And lots of times I wasn't even awake by the time I hit Route 7, which was like already a divided highway. And, the Indy 500, you come out of this subdivision and it's 35 miles an hour, and then you're going to hit, all this traffic going 65 or something. And so anyway, one morning I'm headed out of the out of the neighborhood, and there's this guy beside the road, got his thumb out. This is before Route 7. So I pick him up, okay, how are you? Good, good. Where do you want to go? Well, I'm going to go down here, and I'm going by there, so okay. So we sat there in silence for a while, and bang, I know it's Jesus sitting there. Bang. And I go, yeah. And it was this perfect oneness. I don't know how to describe it, but I knew it was him. And I don't know, again, distorted dreams of reality. I don't know. I just said, thank you. I don't know. We sat there in silence. I rode down the road. It was on the 8500. I was paying attention to driving. And he just sits over in this perfect calmness, just perfect. I don't know, perfect. And I asked him, well, where do you want to get out? So he said, well, when you see the CIA headquarters sign, that'll be fine. So I pulled out, I pulled off the road at the CIA headquarters, and he got out, and I said goodbye and thanks again. He never really talked much. Anyway, I pulled back on the road, and I'm still just boggled by this dream or reality. I don't know. And I look in the rearview mirror, of course. Nobody there. Nobody there. So anyway, Jesus, and he didn't defend himself, but he already knew what the story was, and he already knew that. One part about the Last Temptation of Christ, which I thought was really good. Now, this is not a movie for everybody, because I showed it to my 10-year-old daughter at the time, and she thought it was all true because she didn't have enough biblical background. But anyway, he's on the cross, and human again. I don't really want to do this. This hurts. Is there some way, why do I have to do this, God? Come on, seriously. And so he sort of has this dream where an angel comes and takes him, he gets off the cross, and he lives a sort of normal life. He gets married. He gets married to Mary Magdalene, I think. And he has children, and he farms, and he does his carpentry stuff, and he just has a normal life, and he's happy. He's happy and everything else, and the angel's still hanging around. And I think she does like the Uncle Scrooge and Christmas Story. Well, she sort of shows him what it would be like if he had gone ahead and gotten crucified and the differences. And, you know, it came clear to him that the divinity side had to, that's where he had to do, what's what he had to do. He had to cleanse the sins of the world by his death. And he accepted it. He went back on that cross. And again, I think it made, he was human. He was human. He was like you and me. Um, it, the divinity part was a struggle. The Holy Spirit, the struggle. We all struggle with that stuff. We're human. But there is this other stuff. There is other stuff, and I don't know how you feel it, find it. A lot of people find comfort in religion, and they go here, talk about, and so on. And I don't know. Enough. This was Jesus, and to start off with, don't accuse me of things I didn't do, because it makes me angry. But it didn't make him angry. And that's it for Uncle Ron and stuff this episode. And this is 6, and it's like the 3rd or 4th of December of 2022.